Yeah, it's my pleasure to present Marco Topic. Some of you already know him from yesterday. He's a full professor at the Faculty of Electrical Engineering at the University of Ljubljana, Slovenia. And so he has a long experience in photovoltaics, thin semiconductor materials, optoelectronics, etc., etc. And he's since 2016 the chairman of the European Technology and Innovation Platform Photovoltaics, making really important and good work to push European PV technology as a whole. So I think it was very nice to see that he can share his vision on what's beyond what's now photovoltaics, was the panorama for the photovoltaics today and for the future.
Thank you, Carlos, dear founder, Professor Antonio Luque, dear co-founder, Professor Gabriel Sala, dear director. He just left and saying goodbye to the rector. It is my great pleasure and privilege to be on stage today. I'm really excited and you can be really proud of the Institute. All the workers or the former workers, distinguished professors. I'm following your success story already since 1992. And today it is my, I will try to add a vision. It is a vision of European Technology and Innovation Platform Photovoltaics that I have a privilege to chair in the last years. How important we can be and how much we can contribute to the better world and to the sustainable society that we are all obliged to for the next generations on this wonderful planet. So I will start with not 40 years ago, but even more. It is about 300 years before the Institute was established. And this is the well-known classical physics by Isaac Newton. It is not about the textbooks that he wrote, but the quote he made. And Isaac Newton in 1675 wrote, "If I have seen further, it is by standing on the shoulders of giants." And you can be all proud of giants of Instituto de Energía Solar. And of course, with which PV community recognized as for their outstanding merits and contribution to the PV, to both winners of Becquerel Prize, Professor Antonio Luque and Professor Gabriel Sala. And of course, the third winner is also just as a proof how outstanding researchers you generated in the last 40 years, and there are more to come, I'm really sure. It is actually the privilege I had personally. European Commission delegated me as an evaluator of one of the biggest integrated projects in about 10 years ago. And this was the famous project where Instituto de Energía de Solar was really recognized even more as coordinator of the full spectrum project. And I took just 2 slides from the final meeting, and it was actually summary and outlook given by Antonio Luque, who was the coordinator in the last meeting in Escorial. I was there, and I just want to show you one slide where he made a projection. This is the second slide, and he made a projection how PV will grow. And even in the most optimistic scenario shown here, it's a cumulative sales in gigawatt and projections for the till 2060. And actually, if you look at the 2018, when we reached the margin of 500 gigawatt, he was not that far. It's a logarithmic scale, so a factor of 2. We are even better than the most optimistic projections by Professor Antonio Luque, and we can be all proud of this success story. European Technology and Innovation Platform, Photovoltaics, is embedded in the integrated strategic energy technology plan within European Commission, and definitely we have an important mission, and we gather about 200 experts, and let me invite you who want to become experts in the working groups, you are more than welcome to join. The steering committee is a group of 30 people with Professor Carlos de Canillo, as also from Spain, and from Tecnalia, Director Eduardo. And we really are a dedicated team, and I'm happy to, that we generate relevant results. As you were evaluated yesterday and today, or reviewing your success, we do not form an evaluation, but we are proud of many publications which are the major output of the platform, next to the advice that we give to the European Commission regarding the calls for the projects. Actually today I will try to speak about the latest publication which we worked on last year, just to be in time for the COP 24 in Katowice, to send a big message that PV is competitive already today, and that we can deliver much more for the benefit of the mankind in terms of limiting the increase of temperature, and not 2 degree Celsius temperature rise, but even what should be done to limit the increase to 1.5 degree. It was, unfortunately, we did not succeed to have a session devoted to PV in Katowice in December, but it happened something else. And it happened that Greta came to and give even a more impressive talk. And of course, we are with Greta and the young generation. And we fully agree there is no planet B. So the story of success in the last, let's say, years is actually that we grow exponentially. And this exponential growth is actually in the last 2 years marked with an increase of 100 gigawatt installed power of PV modules, PV power plants across the globe. And projections for this year are around 150 gigawatts. And I'm pretty sure that this exponential growth will even continue since the quality, the reliability, the cost competitiveness, and overall contribution to the better sustainable world is there. So we can truly say that solar PV is entering a new era, and it is era of terawatt photovoltaics. Just to give you an impression, so 1 gigawatt system means 2.5 million PV modules of a full size. And so you can calculate yourself, entering the terawatt size of photovoltaics means billions of PV modules. This success story, of course, goes to the advancement in engineering, in science, and also in manufacturing, which brought us with tremendous cost reductions. This is shown on the system level, and we know that the PV module, full-size PV module, now costs in the range of 100 euros or even less. To work for 30 plus years, and it is really amazing where we are today, and there is also projections to go even cheaper. It is of course, all these progress and success with new efficiency records, with new low price records. It is about the installations actually in 2017, this is the data given by International Energy Agency, that all added global electricity capacity, generating electricity capacity, was actually 39% was from PV, and actually 70% from renewable energy sources that generate electricity. And this share will even grow in the next years till 2050, I'm pretty sure. We reached the 500 gigawatt or half a terawatt, so we can say we entered already the terawatt era if we round the number to one digit. But we will be the projections that we made at the terawatt workshop at NREL last year, and they are summarized in the publication in Science, published in May this year, that we will reach in 3 years, 4 years, the terawatts, truly 1 terawatt, 1.0 terawatt, and that actually it will be only or less than 10 years ahead of us that we will make more than 1 billion PV modules each year, which means we will have an annual production of 1 terawatt per year. And this is scary. This is really out of our projections many, many years ago, but also I'm sure that the future will demonstrate that even now we are always engineering realistic and not that, populistic. Nevertheless, we have to contribute to the changes on a global scale, and definitely we want and we are committed. It is doable even with 100% renewables in a cost-effective way and definitely in a sustainable way. And the study, which was one of the studies, is also head by or coordinated by Christian Breyer, who is also a member of our steering committee. And so we last year followed different scenarios from giant energy sector companies like Shell. There is a sky scenario where it is clear that we need to become at least reducing the CO2 emissions. We need to get to the point of net zero CO2 emissions, and definitely, when this will happen in the sky scenario is 2070. Europe wants to become net zero 2050, and definitely how we can reduce CO2 emissions, photovoltaics helps. Just to give you an impression, 4 terawatt of photovoltaics installed, this is the how much CO2 emissions we can reduce, and but 4 terawatt photovoltaics means 10 billion PV modules around the globe. So our scenario and publication we made is big and beyond, since PV provides key building block of the future energy supply, in particularly electricity, but even much more, in order to deliver on Paris Agreement and for the better future of the only planet we have. And the scenario for 2050, in this case, demonstrates that this is on a global scale, not European scale. In Europe, so globally, there will be 2/3 provided by solar photovoltaics, and then about 1/5 from wind. In Europe, wind will be stronger, will take a stronger share because of Northern Europe is rich of wind. But definitely the scenario of brown and conventional energy sources is not on the agenda. And this is doable not only through generating only intermittent electricity, but also through solar fuels and power to X that we advocate for. The arguments or claims that we are proud of is that PV became the lowest cost renewable energy. It significantly decreases the emissions, in particular CO2. It is socially acceptable, especially for the energy transition, so it can generate new jobs, and it needs to be deployed massively, not in EU, but globally. But definitely not only deployment is important, it is important that we continue with the intensive research, development, innovation, and manufacturing in Europe, and of course also all the sectorial activities that are needed that PV will deliver as promised. It is in line with the United Nations Sustainable Development Goals that PV contributes to many of them listed here. Not only affordable and clean energy, but also it helps directly for the clean water and sanitation, because for this you need energy, and PV helps directly on site, and many other. I would like to focus on the success story of record efficiency solar cells, followed by modules, to tell you that what we all know, that there is no breakthrough revolution, but there is only hard work evolution. And this is the lessons learned from the past, where also Instituto de Energía Solar is at least one point I found here. I'm sure that there are many more in the history of PV. And of course, this goes up, and all these steep slopes here are based on the experience from the other technologies and cross-fertilization among different technologies. Also mobility of the people, of the talented people, researchers who work with passion and enthusiasm. So, in technology, where we are heading to, in silicon, I mean, I recommend highly annual report by its ITRPV, who makes the really best report, and European Technology and Innovation Platform stopped working on the reports in this direction because they are better and they are global. Definitely in thin film and semi-transparent photovoltaics is on also focusing more maybe on the niche applications, not to be competed for the utility scale, although First Solar is successful in doing also utility scale photovoltaics. Recently, now there is especially in Europe, we are forerunners for the perovskite on silicon tandem concept, and definitely not only on the research level, but also on the industrial scale, not on 0.05 square centimeter, but even on the larger scales, even on the full size, wafer size tandem structures, with Oxford PV as a very promising company, holding a record of 28.0% conversion efficiency for the tandem structure on 1 square centimeter. But definitely even maybe thin film, full thin film tandem are on the way to prove reliability and demonstrate cost competitiveness compared to the silicon PV modules. PV modules, again, no revolution, but evolution and hard work in manufacturing different size of modules. And of course, the R&D and innovation needs to be accelerated. It is both non-technological as well as technological innovations across the whole value chain, including reliability and bankability. We are currently portfolio of applications where PV can be deployed is wonderful. Last week in Marseille, we had talks on agro PV, on urban PV, on floating PV. Even there are already demonstration sites where you can. There was a technical tour on Friday afternoon for floating PV. Not to mention all the smart gadgets and Internet of Things and vehicle integrated photovoltaics. So it's a remarkable portfolio of niches for end products where PV will be embedded, and even in medicine. With some infrared laser powering of any monitoring inside and electronics inside the body. It is off-grid, microgrid, PV plus storage. It is intelligent power control and smart grid. It is cybersecurity, and of course, I already mentioned power to X, to anything which is related to the storage, to heat, to fuels, to chemicals and materials. And we are not that far away. On Friday in Marseille, we learned that actually at current cost of making green hydrogen, it's at the level of 15 euros per kilogram, but already at 10 euros per kilogram, there will be, the synthetic fuel will be price competitive to the current oil and natural gas prices. So we can conclude that our mission of the researchers in PV community is actually getting more and more interdisciplinary, and that's why, of course, we need also experts from other sectors to join us in this tremendous effort and wonderful mission. It is non-technological innovations, including new business models, starting with blockchain. Yes, some people are making a lot of money with blockchain technologies. Definitely also related to the electricity, and so new business models are also growing exponentially. And I would like to mention that we, as technology platform, organize each year a conference dedicated to a specific topic. This year we were getting ready for terawatt scale photovoltaics, and I invite you next year to join us in Brussels at the integrated photovoltaics, where we will cover all what is going on, current state of the art in this diversified field of research and development and innovation. And I hope, despite the fact that we don't have today a representative from the ministry today, that governments will hear us and we will defend our position strongly in Europe to help us to continue to be at the forefront of research, development, and innovation. With this, I would like to convey, please be ambassadors and spread the message that the era of photovoltaics is just getting started, and will be, of course, not only on the ground with specific solutions, building integrated photovoltaics with any color palette, but we will be also in the air, on the seas, on the waters, and also in wonderful architectural design to contribute to the energy, to the ecology, and to the society. And let me finish with congratulating Instituto de Energía Solar. ¡Viva! ¡Viva el Instituto de Energía Solar! ¡Feliz aniversario! Con los mejores deseos para el futuro. Gracias.
Thank you very much. Absolutely wonderful presentation from this field knowledge. I want to ask you one thing that you didn't mention very clearly. What is the view of the power, not the efficiency, but the power, political power, stakeholders in the field of funding, not only state investments in this kind of developments in the next future, but also the private. What is the opinion of the European Bank? What they plan in this? This is something missing, but you have sure.
Yes, thank you for this relevant question. Since several years, we are trying to reinitiate and re-strengthen manufacturing in Europe. And one of the biggest bottlenecks are actually banks. Why? Because they burned fingers through the great success on the global scale, but of course with a lot of investments, and many companies had to suffer and had to go for closures. And of course, it was the policy who made a mistake, that it was stop and go, something what we did not want. The PV community always advocated for continuous market growth. But we know, I mean, like Spain, I remember it was 2008, 9, there was an explosion, 2 gigawatt were installed in Spain, and then the feed-in tariff was made for 25 years with such a high feed-in tariff that, of course, the foreign investors came here, grabbed the money, make profit, and you stopped. Of course you stopped, but that was a bad political situation. And this is why especially the platform has a mission to provide advice to the Commission. And we are also, through the national platforms, we want to provide advice to the member states to have sustainable policies for continuous growth. Some sectors grow too fast. It's an explosion, but this is not good, neither for the quality, for the satisfaction of the customers, nor for the sector. Because then, so many expertise, we need to build up on decades to be the point of reference. And your institute is definitely a proof for that you need to have continuous, stable conditions to move forward.
I think that the audience would be interested that you share some of the concerns and of the questions and of the proposals around PV manufacturing in Europe. Is that possible? Not with conditions? Can we still have a chance to compete with the Asiatic producers? What do you think?
Yes, there are two aspects I would like to share. One aspect is the reduction of costs. So if we continue with this reduction of costs, actually we will come to the point when the transport of PV modules from wherever, in particular from China, will be a substantial cost, which means that if we want to produce 1 terawatt per year, this cannot be produced in only one location, in one country, because it needs to go around. And I can tell you it is 3 euro cents per watt of the transport cost to bring it from China to Europe, while the PV module prices currently are in the range of 24-25 euro cents. So this is already within 10%. So this is one very strong argument where definitely we need to be, it will happen, definitely. The second argument is why manufacturing in Europe, that this is a technology to become energy independent from import of oil, gas, shale gas, natural gas from Russia or Algeria or Libya or wherever. So this is a wonderful technology. And once we start to produce synthetic fuels or solar fuels through the, let's say, excess of electricity we will generate from the PV systems, of course, this will be even more important. And the third aspect for manufacturing in Europe is that if we want to do it, we need to do it at a certain economy of scale, which means currently, a few years ago, there was the initiative of X gigawatt. Now we have to speak about 10 gigawatt. And this is 10 gigawatt. It is in particular, if you look for the silicon across the value chain, it is for the cell manufacturing. We need 10 gigawatt, which is about 2 billion euros investment. But definitely, I mean, on the module level, we can diversify, we can spread around, every member state can have a production. And I'm also proud myself, my PhD student, Uroš Mert, found it. Actually, there was a crazy investor in Slovenia. He had excess money, and he asked me whether it would be worth to ramp up, to bring the production. And this is how it happened, the company Bisol. And I was asked to become a CTO. I said, well, I want to be a professor. I want to stay in academia. But I have a young perspective guy, and it was Uroš Mert, who brought up the ramp up the production, and now they make 150 megawatt. They are not big, but they grow continuously in a stable way with high quality products, and definitely, I mean, he employs about 250 people. They are focusing so they import cells, but they do all the other things. The other value chain is there, and yeah, I'm very proud that it's doable, and of course it is our mission to strengthen manufacturing in Europe and across Europe.
Thank you very much for your very inspiring presentation. My question is about education. Terawatts is the word we've been dreaming of for a long time, and it's almost becoming a reality now. So this means labor, this means workers, this means people behind. So what is your vision? Do we need specific education around PV? Is it enough what we have as of today? What shall we do from the university to help, to back this revolution?
Yeah, this is an aspect I did not raise in my talk because of the time constraints, but definitely very, very relevant. If you look for the United Nations Sustainable Goals, education and training will be so important. One thing is at the university to generate PhDs and to run further research and innovation. On the other hand, it is really important to have skilled, trained installators of the systems, operation and maintenance engineers. It is so much more, we're gonna diversify our portfolio of applications, and definitely there will be, despite the fact that our reliability is very high, our warranties are 25, even 30 years, but definitely we will need a lot of people, skilled personnel, and for that I'm really, I mean, it is, if we would have steady, continuous growth conditions, it would be easier for us to plan also curricula on different levels of education to be prepared, to be better prepared. But on the other hand, as you know, profession in the modern times, we have to switch from 5 years period. So who knows where we will be in 10 years or in companies. And with the digitalization and all the modern evolution of modern lifestyle, definitely professions will change. So that's why people need to be educated, and lifelong learning is also an important part, where your institute is also one of the, let's say, leaders, as we heard, how many PhDs, but also other international students you educate.
Can you comment what your view is on the potential for, in the coming years, a market for modules with much higher efficiency for, say, space-constrained areas and urban situations, urban rooftops, zero-energy buildings? Do you think that there's going to be an appetite for modules that might cost a significant amount more on a cost per watt basis, but allow you to have much more energy density, watts per meter squared?
Yeah, maybe I can start with, it depends on the policy. We have a directive on the European scale about the buildings and their energy efficiency, which we all know that actually only BIPV can bring the levels to the what they are required about the energy efficiency. It is not only net zero energy buildings, but actually active buildings producing electricity. But of course, the question is whether there will be some control of this directive, and certainly that's a huge market. Yeah, last week we learned at the EU PVSec that actually the potential of the building sector across Europe is, if we cover, so the technical potential is we can cover 25% of electricity needs only by putting PV modules on the rooftops and on the facades of the building sector across Europe. And so this means it is in the range of tens of terawatts, the scale, what the market could be. But definitely, I think that we cannot put on all the old buildings and so on. So there is more potential in the more expanding countries where the population grows faster, where they need new resources. And I was involved in one of the studies for Kazakhstan, where they need to build, I don't know, thousands of houses per year. And of course, they're to embed this into the new housing, new concepts with architects and new design like decathlon, a solar decathlon. So this is really something where I'm sure there is room for innovation, not only innovation and demonstration, but also for big markets.
Okay. Well, let's thank Marco again.